I like big ships and I cannot lie. Yeah, I don't remember the rest of the words, and I'm sure the song goes a little bit differently. But hi, I'm Michelle. Welcome back to Diaz on Deck Travel. Big ships. Do you love big ships? I know I love big ships. There are lots of them coming out. And speaking of that, we've got new ships from Disney and we've got new ships from Royal Caribbean. So let's talk about that. Disney is rolling out the Disney Adventure. It will hold over 6,000 passengers alone, not including crew. And it will be based in Singapore. And they're going to have a really cool area up on the pool deck, which is Marvel themed. I think it's called Marvel Landing. So that would be pretty cool if you're into Disney and you're into Marvel. But let's switch over to Royal Caribbean. So Royal Caribbean is currently floated out the Legend of the Seas. And that's big news because once the float out goes well, then they can go ahead and start the all ever encumbering interior work, getting that ship aesthetically correct, doing the rooms, doing the decorations, art, making sure everything inside functions because now we know the outside functions. So that's pretty cool and exciting. They have alluded to the next Icon class, but they haven't told us what it's going to be called and when it's going to debut. However, it is going to be an Icon class ship. So I'm thinking maybe something in the name of Idol of the Seas to go with Legend of the Seas, to go with Star of the Seas. Who knows? But that's just one of my thoughts. That would be cool. They are alluding to the fact also that it is going to be based in Galveston, which is pretty cool. So now we're going to have all the major ports. Miami has Icon. Fort Lauderdale, Port Everglades is going to have Legend. Port Canaveral has Star of the Seas. And then Galveston will have the unnamed ship. And what's super cool about that is that by the time that ship comes out, Perfect Day Mexico should be ready. And I don't know if you've seen any of the footage or any of the drawings of what's to be expected there, but it's going to be a super cool private destination, formerly Costa Maya. And so super cool. And the park has this lazy river that goes around the entire park. And it's going to take about an hour, they said. And in your floats, you're going to have these little cup holders because the lazy river will stop at a swim up bar so you could refuel and just keep on going. Not to mention all the water slides and the beautiful beach and all of the things that Royal Caribbean puts on their private destinations. Something else that's going on is people are up in arms about cruise lines changing their itineraries and thinking that you're going to get some kind of compensation. Well, here's where it's at. First of all, they change itineraries for their safety as well as yours. And second of all, once you concede to accepting the terms of that cruise ticket, they don't have to explain why they've changed anything and they don't have to compensate you. So how do you feel about that? Comment down below. I'd like to know what your thoughts are on that. Also, have you been on a cruise where they've had to change the itinerary? What happened and how did you feel about it? I would love to hear from you. So here's some other things to consider if your cruise ship has an itinerary change. If you've booked your excursion through a third-party company, chances are you will not be getting a refund. But there is a little safety in booking through your cruise line. One, you're always going to get back to the ship or the ship is going to wait for you. Two, you know that you're going to get a refund if they change itineraries. So as a travel advisor, I would definitely recommend that you do it that way. And I will tell you a funny story that I witnessed this in action myself. It was spring break, and I was on a cruise with my sister, and it was her spring break trip, and we were on deck 6, and we were enjoying the balcony. We had just come back from tooling around in Nassau, and when you're coming back to the ship, they're like dancing you on, and the cruise director was down there, and they're playing music. It's kind of a welcome back to the ship, welcome home kind of atmosphere, which is super cool. So we're on our balcony, and we start to notice every other ship is leaving, and we went from being first to being the last ship in the port. And so the port is desolate. There is no one there. There is no ship, nothing. And we hear some idle chit chat from the cruise director to his staff. Oh, they're coming. They found them. Okay, apparently some people were missing, and that's what delayed us. And when the cruise director said that, sure enough, right after, you see this little golf cart. It's the only thing in the port. Coming super fast. Doesn't even drop these people off at the right there near the ship. So now they're running. They've got scuba gear on their backs, and they're running. Well, cruise director changes the music to Chariots of Fire. And I think you know that song. Da, 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 da. Yeah, that's the one. And they run out to the people, and they start running with them. And it was hilarious. We were cracking up. The whole side of the ship where everybody was watching was cracking up. The people running were laughing. But the ship waited. And that's because they were booked through a cruise excursion. Also, probably because they could let the other ships go and they had time to wait. So that doesn't always happen, but there is a little safety net in that. So, have you ever brought anything on your cruise like this or like this? Well, let me tell you what's going on. The very popular game, it's a dice game, left, right, center, or fondly known as LRC, is being talked about on cruise lines because people like to play their dice games. And, it is heavily forbidden that you gamble outside of the casino. So if you're bringing any of these games on, definitely, you don't need to be playing for money. They said you could play for a prize, but, let's make it fun. How about we just play for points? Somebody wrote into the cruise line ambassador of Carnival Cruise and said that they thought they were treated unfairly and that the crew member was rude. Was he? Or was he just telling you that you were breaking the rules? So don't take it personal. These crew members are just doing their job. And, we have to follow the rules. They're set for a reason. You never know who could get in a game with you, and it could just be some kind of big financial controversy about betting, and it's forbidden. So bring your games, have your fun. One of the games I like to bring on is called Tenzi. And we have a lot of fun with that. We've even incorporated that into a Christmas Eve game where we compete for lottery tickets. I'm not suggesting you do that on your cruise. I'm just saying that's what we do with it when we're home. I hope you found this information enjoyable, and I hope you'll like and subscribe down below. Bye for now.